This meeting is being recorded.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. We'll start in just a minute to let everyone join us today, this morning, or this afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. It is 10 a.m. now in London, so I'm just going to start and introduce ourselves and do a bit of housekeeping whilst you all are still joining us. So hello everyone and welcome to our Sage Catalyst introductory webinar with two guest speakers, Amanda Foster and Hilary Skoyles from Northumbria University. Before we kick off, a little bit of housekeeping. So make sure you check your audio and video settings, and if you're having any issues, try rejoining the webinar and selecting the correct audio option. If you're having any issues, please uh, put your question in the Q&A box and I will get back to you later. This session today is being recorded and we will send you the recording promptly after the webinar, possibly sometime this week, alongside with some useful links for more information about Sage Catalyst. Feel free to share it with your colleagues. And now let's kick off. So the purpose of today is to introduce you to Sage's new product, Sage Catalyst. I will start with some introductions before diving in to give you an overview of what Sage Catalyst is, and then David will demo the platform for you. After which, he will hand over to our two guest speakers to give you a case study from Northumbria University. At the end, there will be time for Q&A, but please feel free to put your questions in the Q&A box throughout the presentation, and we'll get back to them at the end. And now onto the introductions. I'm Polina, and I'm Senior Marketing Manager for Sage Catalyst. Today, we're joined by David, who is Support Consultant at Talis, helping universities to be successful in using Talis Elevate and Talis Aspire. Prior to joining Talis, David also worked in a number of librarian roles within higher education. Our wonderful guest speakers today are Amanda Foster and Hilary Skoyles from Northumbria University, which is one of Sage Catalyst customers. Amanda is content delivery and copyright librarian at Northumbria University, where she manages the on-demand, reading list, and copyright teams. Amanda has been involved in a range of projects and has contributed to service design and delivery across different teams. Hilary has been a service coordinator in the reading list team at Northumbria since its inception in 2013. Using Talis Aspire, she has helped to develop and design the way the service is delivered. So what is Sage Catalyst? In short, Sage Catalyst is a new collaborative teaching and learning tool. It provides unlimited university-wide access to over 700 of our premium social science textbooks. It enables blended learning through virtual collaboration, classroom discussion, and peer-to-peer learning within the texts and other multimedia resources, all within a single platform powered by Talis Elevate. So what is within our social science textbook collection? As you may know, SAGE has a focused social science textbook publishing program. Our collection of nearly 750 titles was carefully curated to give comprehensive coverage across the full spectrum of social science curriculum, including research methods, psychology, nursing, education, sociology, and much, much more. You can see the discipline split on the screen. The collection includes our latest titles, latest editions of the most in-demand textbooks, new front list, and a mix of UK and US titles. The full Sage Catalyst collection is currently not available anywhere else online. The collection is updated annually to add new editions, newly published titles, and more. And in addition to this core collection, we also have four add-on packages: study skills, research methods, business and management, and professional practice. All these packages contain around 50 additional titles. So what are the features of Sage Catalyst? As I earlier said, Sage Catalyst is powered by Talis Elevate, a collaborative teaching and learning tool. So Sage Catalyst provides much more than just the content. So what are these features? Firstly, there is unlimited university-wide access to all the titles in the collection. Secondly, faculty can add chapters from titles to modules for their classes. Faculty can share these chapters with students, and they can also share the modules via the link or embedding them into their institution's VLE or LMS. So it's really putting these titles at the fingertips of their students. Furthermore, Sage Catalyst supports other multimedia resources. So faculty can upload their uh, lecture notes, videos, images, all within these module areas. Faculty and students can interact via commenting directly from within the titles. Comments can also be done anonymously, thus giving quieter students a voice. Importantly, faculty get analytics on all this usage at student, module, and title level. So they can see who read what, who commented on which resources, and who is taking notes. And now, how do these features translate into benefits for you? Firstly, we are providing equitable student access to titles with full curriculum coverage. Faculty are gaining confidence that all students can access titles within their reading lists and core texts, no more worrying about who bought the book. Sage Catalyst helps to increase student engagement through collaboration directly within the texts and other multimedia resources. The comments enable social learning within the virtual classroom discussions for students to share their knowledge and also build understanding more quickly. And students always build their understanding quicker when they can participate in this peer-to-peer learning. The analytics gives faculty insight into student engagement. They can see where some extra support might be needed, and these insights can help shape the course design and delivery. They can see which resources within their collection are landing well with their students. And before David gives you a quick demo of the platform, I just want to explain how Sage Catalyst is set up for institutions. So libraries get an annual subscription, and this gives them university-wide access to all the titles within the collection, and also new titles added during their subscription period. In addition, institution social science faculty can use the Talis Elevate collaborative features that I covered in my previous slides. Sage Catalyst titles are discoverable in many ways. We provide MARC records so you can catalog them by your library. Customer universities also get a unique discovery layer platform, and also titles can be embedded into your VLE and LMS by faculty. Lastly, in addition to the analytics that you are getting within the platform, and I'm sure David will show you the analytics features and the dashboards. We also provide counter usage reports. And now I'm going to pass over to David to do a quick demo so that you can see the platform in action and see what the discovery layer looks like and how you can add titles into your modules. Over to you, David.
Lovely. Thank you, Polina. I'm just going to set my watch so I don't overrun. So if I just go to share my screen, and then hopefully all of you can now see a screen that's headed with Talis Elevate. So this is going to be a very brief demo of Talis Elevate. As Polina mentioned, Polina gave you a very good overview of the features. There is a 90-minute training version we do, but actually I think we can show you the basics in 10 minutes. So just to recap on what Polina said, yeah, Talis Elevate is essentially a teaching tool which allows you to have a direct conversation with students on the resources you're using, and particularly in relation to Sage Catalyst titles. So I'm just going to log myself into the system. And what we are going to do is very quickly just create a brand new course within Talis Elevate and show you how you can add content to that, how you can interact with it, and how you can check the analytics. So the first thing to do when you're using Talis Elevate, you're going to want to set up a course, which is where you are going to drop the resources that you want to be teaching with. So you can see I've got many demo courses here, but I'm going to show you how to create a new one. So it's as simple as clicking on Create Module. And then obviously you're going to want to give your course a title. So I am just going to call this one Sage Catalyst Demo. You will need to give your course a code, which will presumably be whatever the module or unit code is that relates to the course you're teaching in your institution. So again, I'm just going to make one up here. So Sage Cat Demo. You will need to give your course a start and an end date. Those are quite important because one of the main drivers of using Talis Elevate is the ability for both the lecturer and the students to leave comments. And the course dates that you choose will actually sort of govern when it's possible for people to interact with these resources. So you can have a date when they can start adding comments, a date when they can stop interacting. Obviously, this is a demo today, so I'm just going to say we are going to have this course to run for the length of September. You are also prompted to put in exactly how many students you expect to be taking this course, and that's quite important because Polina mentioned the analytics earlier, and the analytics that you can get from within Talis Elevate are governed partially by how many students you're actually expecting to be on this course. So we do strongly recommend that you put a number in there, even if you need to go back and change it later. So I'm going to say we have 30 students for this course. Click on Save. And that's it. You've set up a Talis Elevate course. So in terms of using material within here, obviously, Polina mentioned Sage Catalyst, so we'll show you how easy that is to do. If I just go to the Sage Catalyst discovery layer, so this is what a typical Sage Catalyst homepage looks like. You can see the different categories on the left-hand side, or you can search for a particular title. And of course, it's quite possible that you're already teaching with some of these titles. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add this business to business marketing book. So that's the one I would like to teach with. I click on the title and I can see the various sort of sections of the book. I can read a bit more about it. So I know, yes, this is the one I want. And if there's a chapter I'd like to teach with, you can see next to each chapter here, you've got all these plus icons. And so if I just choose chapter 1, when I click on that, it's saying, okay, you want to add this to Talis Elevate. Here are the different courses that you are currently teaching on. And you can see that's the one I just set up a moment ago. So I'm just going to select that course, click on Add to Module. And that's it. So I'm just going to close that a moment, go back to my Talis Elevate course. I'm going to reload that screen. And you can see I've added a resource. It's that simple to do. As Polina mentioned, it's not just Sage Catalyst content you can be using in Talis Elevate. You can be using all sorts of different materials within the system. So if you see, if I just click on add resource at the top here, there are various ways of getting content into Talis Elevate, and I don't have time to cover them in sort of 10 minutes I've got. But the main one we're going to look at, you can see that you can easily just drag and drop files into this area, or you can click on browse files and you can add a resource directly from your computer. You can actually add all sorts of different materials in here. So it might be text, it might be videos, it might be an image, it might be an audio file, and there is a link there which will show you all of the file types that Talis Elevate supports. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on browse files and I'm going to add an image, which I'd saved to my computer earlier. So all you need to do is give it a title. Click on save. If I scroll down a little bit, you can see that's now been added to the system. So that's how easy it is to get content into Talis Elevate, whether it's from Sage Catalyst or from any other resources you might be using for teaching. So why would we add them to Talis Elevate? So once they're added, if I just open up our Sage Catalyst chapter, so you can see this is chapter from the ebook directly from Sage Catalyst. So, you know, the students can now start reading the title on screen. However, what Elevate allows them to do is actually interact with the material. So you as the instructor may be wanting your students to read this material, but you might also want to be guiding their reading as they go through. So how that would work, we highlight a section of text in exactly the same way you would with a Word document or a web page. And what that does, we see a little comment box pops up at this point. So you as the instructor might ask a question, something like, can you think of any examples? So what you are doing is driving discussion about this particular chapter directly within the document. And so the conversation will begin to build up next to the content rather than, you know, you having to discuss it later in the seminar or on a separate discussion board. So all of your discussion begins to take place here within the document. One of your students might then want to agree, leave a response to that. So type, click on reply. And so what you begin to do is build up a discussion about the content directly next to it. And so what happens after a time, if you're working with a big group of students, if I just switch tab a moment, you can see that what happens is you get something like this. So this as an internal Talis document, it's about discussion forums, so quite relevant to Talis Elevate. And you can see we've uploaded a large document here. There are all sorts of different parts of the text which have been highlighted, and you can see the different contributors' names. So you can see which student is saying, you know, is contributing to this discussion, what they're saying. Obviously, you know, over time, if you build up quite a lot of discussion, then it might be quite difficult for you to think, how do I navigate this? So if you just click on the different colored highlights, that will actually scroll you to the relevant comments that have been left at that point in the discussion. So it's quite easy to navigate. And so you as instructor have oversight of what all of your students are thinking, and you're in a position to leave comments and guide that discussion. Polina mentioned analytics. So there are various different types of analytics in Talis Elevate. I'm just going to show you a very simple one. So you as the instructor would have access to this analytics button. And when I click on the top here, what this would do would show me how many of my students have actually logged into this resource. So that number you set at the start, this is where that then becomes useful. It would show me how long my students have been spending on this resource. So, you know, what's the average, what's the shortest amount of time, what's the longest. I can see how many comments have been made and how many of my students have actually contributed to that discussion. And I can also see which parts of the resource are being used. So that's quite useful, because if you've uploaded quite a long document or a long chapter, this will actually show you which page numbers they've been looking at. And so, you know, the thing that you really want them to engage with is on page 6. And this shows you that nobody is actually getting to that part of the document. That's a chance for you to step in and guide the discussion a bit more. There is also the ability to see what individual students have been doing. So again, these are my colleagues from Talis, and I can see which of the different people within the company have been spending time on this document. But of course, in your case, it would be how long have your students been spending on the document? And all of this can be fed into your, you're sort of supporting the students, who seems to have got the hang of this, who might need a nudge. We have seen Talis Elevate used in all sorts of different settings. It's designed to be, a tool to support your teaching, but how you use it is really up to you. We do have plenty of case studies that we could share with you, but some typical examples would be a lecturer may upload a document into Talis Elevate. They ask the class to have a discussion, and then the lecturer reviews all of the discussion that they see here. It helps them understand where their students' learning is at, and they use that to inform the seminar that they might be holding the following week. We have seen examples of teaching staff uploading previous assessments, asking the students to annotate the text in front of them. What do you think this student got right? What do you think was wrong? And that allows the students to have a better understanding of what's expected of them. You might even just want to upload your lecture notes and say, here is what we discussed today. If you have any questions, please comment on the notes and I will respond to them. We've seen virtual poster presentations. We've even seen an example of a languages lecturer who uploaded a video in German to YouTube and then asked the group to collaboratively translate it. So that is a very short overview of what Talis Elevate is, what it does, and how you can upload your Sage Catalyst material into here to drive discussion with your students. But at that point, I will stop talking and I will hand over to Hilary and Amanda.
Thanks, David.
Thank you.
Morning, everyone. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Great. Yep. Thank you. So I'm Amanda Foster. I'm Content Delivery and Copyright Librarian at Northumbria University, and I'm joined this morning by my colleague Hilary Skoyles.
Hello there, everybody.
So we're going to tell you a little bit today about our experience of Sage Catalyst and Talis Elevate. First of all, a little bit about Northumbria. We are a relatively large university in the northeast of England. We have 32,000 students approximately from 143 countries. We have campuses in Newcastle, London and Amsterdam. We're open 24/7 and we've held the Customer Service Excellence accreditation since 2010. We do have consistently high levels of satisfaction in the NSS survey, a digital first strategy. And this year, we're very happy to have been shortlisted for University of the Year in the Times Higher Education Awards. In terms of our structure, we have a functional structure, so we don't have subject librarians at all. All our purchasing is reading list driven. So the reading list team, which Hilary manages, they offer an end-to-end service basically from design to delivery. So they review the reading lists, they purchase the books, they receive the books when they come in, they demo the lovely Talis service to our academic staff. Basically they do all of that work themselves. And I think obviously in terms of the COVID response, we did see an increased demand for ebooks, which I'm assuming is across the board. And we were in a situation where we weren't able to get these ebooks from our usual suppliers, and we were having to explore all other options, I would say, and taking advantage of many free alternatives during the COVID period. So where it all began, I know Paulina had this picture there before, but yeah, it began with this title, with the Andy Field title, which I would say during COVID times was probably the most sought after ebook for us anyway. On a daily basis, I would say we were having academics contacting us, asking if there was any way of getting this title electronically or another chapter digitized of this title. Obviously, it wasn't available via our usual aggregators. So at this point, we had already sort of dipped our toes into the e-textbook market. We had started buying a few titles on a subscription model, but in most cases, this was where there was smaller cohorts of students. In this case, the title was requested across all of our faculties. It was for, I seem to recall, about 1,400 students. So the price, I think at the time, if we'd purchased it, would have been something in the region of £45,000. Obviously, that made it out of reach. It was at this point, I think, that Chris Goldie got in touch with me and said, had I heard of the Catalyst collection, that this title was part of that collection, and obviously many other titles as well, but that it might be an option for us, given that, you know, we'd asked many times about this title and a few others as well. So why Catalyst? It wasn't just for the Andy Field title. There were many core titles, many sought after titles that were part of it. When we actually looked at it and we were doing some analysis of what was there, we could see that they were titles that were in many, many reading lists and that had been requested multiple times by our academic staff. As Paulina said, it's exclusive, so they weren't available via our other aggregators. Because of the number of titles in the collection, it makes it very much a cost-effective solution for us. I think we looked at this and it worked out at something like just over £1 per title for us. It was very, very cost-effective. David talked there about Talis Elevate, and obviously we've worked with Talis for many years, and Hilary is going to discuss this at the end, but we had asked many times, I think David would agree, about the Talis player and when it would be available, and we were very interested in using that. In terms of analytics, we were finding that we were getting many academics asking us for more in-depth information about the students and who had used which titles and how many students had access to title. So I think that was also something that we were very interested in. And it was great that, unlike some other options that were given to us, that it was available via our library search, so that it was available to all users and not just the students that, you know, you were giving kind of the numbers for. And like Paulina said, again, the new editions and updates, it was great that that was an automatic feature and we weren't having to sort of wait for somebody to tell us that there was a new edition available or go out looking ourselves, that they were just there within that collection. And I will pass over to Hilary to talk a bit about the data we have.
Hello, everybody. Now, I'm no data analyst or mathematician. In fact, I am terrible at that kind of thing. But in the next few slides that I'm going to show you, even I have been able to easily analyse and make sense of the presented data and come up with meaningful conclusions. I will go through some simple figures to demonstrate the usage of the Catalyst collection, which I hope will emphasise the benefits of the titles provided for your students and the institution as a whole. In this diagram, you can see a representation of the total number of titles in the Catalyst collection. 649 titles. As you noticed previously, the numbers have gone up, but this was in the number in the period that we covered. As you can see, 95% or 616 titles have been accessed during the period measured, which we feel is an amazing figure in itself. 545 of the titles were used more than once in the period, and 33% of the titles have been added to our online reading lists, either by our reading list team members or academics themselves. Slide 7, please. When it came to the point in this last academic year where we needed to make the decision whether to renew the collection for the next year or not, we did not use data to drive our decisions. The evidence that we had was purely anecdotal. We could easily see that there were a lot of important sought-after titles present in the Catalyst collection, and through our contact with academics and the reviewing process undertaken by our team in the university library, we could also see that many of the titles were present on a good number of the lists that we have available. These were, in many cases, titles that we had never been able to provide electronically before, previously purchasing print copies at a higher level to satisfy student demand. We have, as previously mentioned, a large cohort of distance learning students at Northumbria, So the provision of so many of these titles in electronic format is imperative for these students to allow them easy access to titles electronically, rather than to use our distance learning service to obtain print copies. We also had received excellent feedback from academics who had been able to use these titles in their lists where previously they had only been available in print format. So the decision was made without too much discussion that we would renew for the next academic year. Now, I hope that you understand the heading on this slide. It basically means that everything that we had thought was beneficial to our users has been proven by the data returned during analysis of the counter reports from the collection. For this webinar, we requested some analytics from our Discovery and Access team in the library, and the next few screens we feel confirm and demonstrate that our instincts as to the usefulness of the collection were bang on target. The first clip that we are showing from our spreadsheet shows the top titles that appear on reading lists and how many lists they appear on. As you can see, 616 titles of the 649 in the Catalyst collection were accessed during the measured period, and 217 of those titles have been added to online reading lists by academics or our team members. Not all Catalyst titles were added to reading lists. It ranged from a title not being added at all up to 58 different lists that a specific title was added to. As an aside, we decided that the top 30 most used titles had been accessed at least 250 times each, which we feel is a good result. Next screen, please. Thank you. The spreadsheet clip on this slide is quite meaningful, I think. It shows the number of unique users for the collection by title, and it is no surprise to spot the top title being the same as the one shown on the previous slide. However, the rest of the data shown is quite random, but one entry that stands out for me is the one highlighted in red, which, as you can see, is not linked to any of our reading lists. It has a high usage figure and a large number of unique users, and we feel that this demonstrates that the Catalyst collection titles are being discovered via our library search, and users are not purely being pointed to the title from within our reading lists, further confirming the broad benefit that the collection provides to our users. The next slide concentrates on usage of the titles. What you are seeing is a small clip from the top quartile showing titles that have been used at least 34 times during the measured period. In the top quartile, 123 titles, or 81%, appear on our reading lists. Interestingly, 29 titles, or 19% of the top quartile, do not appear on reading lists at all, further supporting the collection's excellent coverage. It was also reported that the bottom half of the usage report displayed any title accessed at least once and up to 10 times during the measured period. And finally, it was found that 32 titles, or 10% of the bottom half of the list of titles, appeared on reading lists. I hope that you feel as we do that these figures support and demonstrate the accuracy of our decision to renew our access to the Catalyst collection for the next academic year. And this brings me finally to Talis Elevate. We have been working with Talis Aspire for approximately 9 years now, and the online reading lists are well embedded within the culture of our university. We have long been interested in the Talis player and have at times during those 9 years discussed and helped with its eagerly awaited development. So we were very excited to see Talis Elevate when it became available. A lot of our academics began asking questions regarding analytics, both for their lists and individual titles within those lists. And the prospect of being able to deliver granular statistics directly to the academics' fingertips was very exciting. We attended a demonstration of the system so that we had an idea of its benefits ourselves, and then we were able to extract data with the help of our Discovery and Access team as to which of our online reading lists contained titles from the Catalyst collection that were marked as essential reading. I then contacted all of the academics identified by email, some of whom had multiple titles on their lists. I included flyers and advertising material to the emails and invited those academics to request or attend a demo of the system. And I do believe a good number of our academics have done so. Training was provided by Talis Customer Support and Sage. I know a few of our academics have embraced Elevate and extol its virtues, and they are actively encouraging colleagues to also use it in their teaching, benefiting from its collaborative abilities. We have received such positive feedback from academics who are using it, and one has delivered a webinar about his experience for Talis. They tell us that their students love the collaborative aspect of Elevate, and they are finding that it has encouraged great discussions amongst the students, which is just what it's meant to do. Our next steps are to try and raise the profile of Elevate by hopefully accessing the correct team within our university who can help us to promote its benefits, raise awareness of it, and encourage greater usage by our teaching staff. So Amanda and I would like to thank you very much for your interest in our presentation, and we'll attempt to answer any questions that you have at the end of the webinar. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hilary and Amanda. And it's really interesting how Catalyst benefited the university and how the titles are being used. And it's exciting to hear that Elevate is also, the Elevate features are being used and that academics are actually praising, and they are feeding you back that the student engagement is increasing. And thank you, David, for the presentation. And now, if you have any questions, please pop them in the Q&A box. We have one question already here. What is the level of textbooks that are available within the Catalyst collection? I can take this one. So we have textbooks at all levels and across all disciplines within the social science area. And maybe Amanda and Hilary can share from the perspective of the Northumbria universities, whether it's mostly undergraduate or postgraduate academics that are using those textbooks.
I would say it's mainly undergraduate. Hilary, would you say the same?
I would think so, yes. But, you know, there could be people from, you know, higher levels accessing them from library search, which we would have no control over. You know, anybody can find them within our library search facilities.
Yeah, I think definitely the most used titles were probably undergraduate.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So we have another question here. Does Northumbria use Talis only for Sage textbooks, or is it possible to include e-textbooks from other publishers?
We purchase from other. Yeah, sorry. We purchase from other aggregators. We use 2 other suppliers, and I understand that you can use those within Talis Player. I think probably David knows more about that than I do.
Yeah, I can provide an answer there. It's probably not the clear-cut one that you want. So Talis Elevate is like any other online tool you use, like your VLE or whatever. It's subject to the same copyright restrictions, you know, as any other online tool you use in terms of what you can upload to it. Now, this is where it gets a bit tricky, because the case law certainly within the UK, within this area is a little bit unclear, in that there hasn't been much since the last major update. So we work with a number of institutions that are using Talis Elevate. We have institutions who are quite liberal in how they interpret the current law and say, yeah, we're happy for you to upload a chapter here and an article there and whatever. We have other institutions who are much more conservative in what they will allow their teaching staff to upload. I can't give you a definitive answer as to what you should and shouldn't be uploading, because the law doesn't exist. Well, it hasn't been taken to court anyway. There is nothing to stop you from uploading material from other publishers. but it's probably a conversation you would want to have with the copyright people within your institution. Are you comfortable in doing this? And that's probably the most concrete answer I can give, I'm afraid.
Thank you, David. So we have another question here. Is pricing based on the number of students on social science courses? And the answer is yes, it is. And then one more. How can we benefit from Sage Catalyst and the Talis Elevate here at St. John of God College of Health Science in Malawi in Central Africa? I believe we covered a lot of benefits of Sage Catalyst textbook collection and also the Talis Elevate functionalities. And if you're using any of these textbooks as your core texts, as Hilary and Amanda gave us an example of Northumbria universities, how they're being used by their academics, and all the usage stats that are quite high for these titles, and also the Elevate functionality and benefits that we covered, including the increasing of student engagement, getting all the analytics, having more control over the development of your course design and delivery. So I hope that this presentation kind of gave you an understanding of what Sage Catalyst is, what textbooks are included, and how it can benefit you for your library, your students, and your teaching. Any other questions, please feel free to put them. I think I got the clarification here that it is beneficial indeed, but I mean, how can we get access to Sage Catalyst and Talis Elevate? So after this webinar, I will send you all a follow-up email with more details how you can get access, with the full title list, and I will also give you contact details of your sales representatives that you can get in touch with, and that you can discuss the subscription options, and they can demo you the platform as well. There is a question, can you access Catalyst without Talis? Well, Catalyst is the product that is powered by Talis Elevate. So you can get access to the textbooks, and you can still benefit from all the functionalities of the Talis Elevate Elevate app. So no, you can't just get access to the textbooks, but you can absolutely use the textbooks within your library, and use the MAC records to catalog them within your library catalog. So I'm just getting here a clarification from our sales representative that around the pricing. So EMEA and APAC pricing of Catalyst is based on full FTE, while UK, Ireland is social science student numbers. And that's mainly because it is not always easy to access true social science student numbers. If you have any more questions, please feel free to put them in the Q&A box. Otherwise, I will send you more details and more information about Sage Catalyst. I will also send you the recording. And as I mentioned, please feel free to share it with your colleagues who you think might benefit from learning more about Sage Catalyst as well. And thank you so much for our wonderful speakers today. Thank you to Hilary and Amanda for a case study from Northumbria University. And thank you for David for doing such a comprehensive demo and showing the features. I will end our webinar here, but if there are any more questions, you can send me an email, and we can discuss it later following the webinar. Thank you so much, everyone for attending, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you.